Yellowstone National Park in Wyoming is one of the most amazing places on Earth. It also has a number of hot springs and geothermal features, including an active geyser field, in addition to a sizable volcano. Visitors can see mud pots bubbling, geysers blasting, and steam rising from the earth. Additionally, you can witness creatures like bison, elks, antelopes, wolves, and bears there. Geographically speaking, Yellowstone is quite remote, and its geothermal features can be hazardous. The 3,500 square mile Yellowstone National Park is located above a volcanic hot zone. Most of the park is in Wyoming, but some parts also extend into Montana and Idaho. Canyons, alpine rivers, and lush forests are some of Yellowstone National Park's most well-known features. Supervolcano on which Yellowstone National Park is located. More than 1,000 cubic kilometers of gas, ash, magma, and rock are produced by supervolcanoes. Supervolcanoes like Lake Toba in Indonesia, Lake Taupo in New Zealand, and Yellowstone National Park in the United States have erupted within the last 100,000 years. Inside the volcanic system, there has been a considerable and sudden uplift over the past few months. The most likely cause of this upward movement is rising magma beneath the surface. Scientists are keeping a tight eye on the issue, even though there is no immediate threat of an explosion. Join us as we go to Wyoming to experience the majesty of Yellowstone National Park and to learn more about the hazard posed by the enormous, abrupt rise in the volcanic system that Yellowstone National Park officials have observed. While the North American continent has moved southwest for a very long period, the Yellowstone hotspot has stayed constant. What is currently known as the southeastern part of Oregon can be used to pinpoint the origin of the historic Yellowstone eruptions. The Yellowstone supervolcano has erupted 3 times, with the most recent eruptions taking place in northeastern Wyoming. The supervolcano, whose most recent eruption occurred 640,000 years ago, is responsible for the hot springs, geysers, and other hydrothermal phenomena in the park. The caldera in which the park is situated was also created by the supervolcano. A caldera is a depression in the shape of a bowl that results from a volcano's explosion of magma or lava. The supervolcano in Yellowstone has a 34-mile wide crater, and its most recent eruption came after a period of dormancy. The caldera gradually filled with water and underwent forestation, creating an environment that is now home to a wide variety of animal species. Park scientists claim that Yellowstone National Park is a safe haven for one of the largest supervolcanoes in the world, which is showing signs of life. The name Yellowstone National Park was given to the region's golden sandstone and adopted in 1872. The caldera in which the park is situated was also created by the supervolcano. A caldera is a depression in the shape of a bowl that results from a volcano's explosion of magma or lava. The supervolcano in Yellowstone has a 34-mile wide crater, and its most recent eruption came after a period of dormancy. The main issue is, if Yellowstone started trembling tomorrow, what is there to expect? Earth Sciences professor at the University of Northern Colorado and renowned volcanologist Dr. Steve Anderson says, "I don't think we know exactly what to expect." But according to scientists, it wouldn't be anything less than a catastrophe. The volcanic activity on the Yellowstone Plateau created the high continental barrier separating the northern and central Rocky Mountains. The plateau has an average height of 7,900 feet and is surrounded on all sides by steep terrain with peaks as high as 13,000 feet, with the exception of the eastern Snake River Plain, which extends to the southeast as a structural depression measuring around 350 kilometers long. For 2.2 million years, massive eruptions, extensive ground collapse, unusually thick lava flows, ground rising, continuous faulting, and the erosive power of flowing water and ice have shaped the 17,000 square kilometer Yellowstone Plateau. Yellowstone is currently an inactive volcano with low levels of restlessness, according to Dr. Jacob Lowenstern, scientist in charge of the Yellowstone Volcano Observatory research geologist. He adds that there is no current activity going on that would indicate anything happening, and if something was coming, there is nothing to show at this point in time. In the past 2 million years, The Yellowstone Plateau volcanic region has experienced 3 volcanic cycles, 2 of which are recognized as some of the most destructive volcanic eruptions in history. The caldera of what is now Yellowstone National Park was the only place where lava flows from the final eruption of the Pitchstone Plateau, which occurred 77,000 years ago, could be seen. The first eruption of the Huckleberry Ridge Tuff occurred 2.1 million years ago, leaving a 75-kilometer-wide crater and viscous volcanic materials behind. The second cycle began when the Mesa Falls Tuff erupted 1.3 million years ago. 640,000 years ago, a lava stream erupted on the Yellowstone Plateau, leaving a caldera measuring 45 by 85 kilometers. This was the last known activity on the plateau. Between 180,000 and 70,000 years ago, rhyolitic lava flows totaling 600 cubic kilometers poured into the caldera. Since that time, no magmatic eruptions have taken place. Nevertheless, during the Holocene, the most recent 11,700 years of Earth's history, hydrothermal eruptions took place. 2 locations that have experienced ground surface uplift and subsidence are Mallard Lake and Sour Creek. In geology, these are referred to as resurgent domes. When the caldera floor expanded or elevated as a result of a change in motion in the magma chamber below it, a dome-shaped structure called a resurgent dome was created. Hot springs and geysers are the extent of the geologic activity in Yellowstone National Park at the moment. The largest area in the world with the greatest number of geysers and hydrothermal systems is Yellowstone. The area is one of the most seismically active in the globe because of the extensive networks of faults associated with the supervolcano and the local topography. The plateau near the Teton and Hebgen Lake faults frequently experiences large earthquakes. In 1959, the Hebgen Lake fault ruptured, leaving the area severely damaged. When tectonic plates become stuck at their edges due to friction, and the pressure on the edge overcomes the friction, earthquakes occur. The ground underneath us trembles as a result of energy waves that are generated and propagate through the Earth's crust. Massive, erratic solid rocks called tectonic plates are what make up the continental and oceanic lithosphere. The University of Utah seismograph stations, which oversee the management and study of the Yellowstone seismic network, recorded 59 earthquakes in the area in July 2022. The largest incident of the month occurred 14 miles southwest of Mammoth Hot Springs and had a magnitude of 3.1. About half of Yellowstone's seismic activity is accounted for by these earthquake series. In Yellowstone's Upper Geyser Basin, close to the park's southwest corner, the Old Faithful Geyser can be found. It shoots more than 14,000 liters, 3,700 gallons, of boiling water more than 30 meters into the air every 91 minutes. In 1870, the Washburn expedition discovered it. Given its regular and predictable eruptions, which have accounted for nearly 1 million eruptions since Yellowstone Park was founded in 1872, it was given the moniker. The most famous geyser in the world, Old Faithful, erupts 20 times every day. These eruptions range in height from 100 to 180 feet, with an average height of 130 to 140 feet and a duration of 1.5 to 5 minutes. According to the GPS network, Yellowstone's activity stayed at background levels throughout July as a result of groundwater buildup. A bit more activity occurred in June as record floods in the Yellowstone region were caused by heavy rain and snowmelt. Between June 10 and June 13, there were several landslides and rockfalls, mostly in Yellowstone National Park's northern edge. Yellowstone floods wreaked havoc on the region's infrastructure, stranding entire villages, and some roads and bridges were wiped away. Both the seismic activity and the hydrothermal activity were unaffected by the floods. However, there had a considerable impact on geyser activity. Because geysers produce more regularly during wet seasons than they do throughout dry seasons of the year, they started to erupt more frequently. Although the time difference is small, it is statistically significant. On June 10 and 20, 2022, the Steamboat Geyser erupted twice, culminating in 8 noteworthy eruptions. 149 earthquakes were discovered by the seismograph stations of the University of Utah. Since the start of the summer, GPS monitors in the Yellowstone caldera and Norris Geyser Basin have recorded a few millimeters of elevation. The Earth expands as a result of the movement of snowmelt into the ground. Since 2015, there has been a yearly trend of a few millimeters of caldera sinkage. An annual sinking of 2 to 3 centimeters, 1 inch, has been observed for a number of years. Although experts believe a Yellowstone supervolcanic eruption is extremely unlikely, new subsurface activity raises questions about how strong it might be. Even though the majority of these earthquakes are small, they give scientists information on how quickly the magma chamber under Yellowstone is filling up. This information is useful because larger earthquakes cause more shaking and trembling throughout the park, which shows that recent lava pools have just drained into the reservoir. The ground surface of Yellowstone has risen at the fastest rate in the last 10 years. Geologists struggle to predict the supervolcano's next move since it is challenging to watch and analyze every tiny detail of what is happening in Yellowstone National Park. Experts think there are now no immediate hazards despite the increased frequency of earthquakes. On the other hand, studying past eruptions can reveal some details. There was a gap of 600,000 to 800,000 years between the 3 significant eruptions that took place over the last 2.1 million years. Thousands of kilometers outside the park, as well as inside the park, may still be affected by the effects of the most recent large eruption, which occurred 640,000 years ago. Most of the continental US was covered in volcanic ash, gas, magma, and other debris from each of the 3 dangerous eruptions. Following each eruption, the Yellowstone supervolcano collapsed on itself, consuming the surrounding mountains, forests, and other land features. Geologists predict that a caldera-forming eruption in Yellowstone would result in a terrible natural catastrophe. The 1980 disastrous Mount St. Helens eruption, which claimed the lives of 56 people, countless animals, and obliterated hundreds of square kilometers of Washington and Oregon, was 1,000 times smaller than the most recent Yellowstone explosion. The most recent eruption of Yellowstone produced a deadly cloud of hot ash, rock, and poisonous fumes that rose thousands of meters into the air. The darkness covered at least 1/3 of the continent. The area was quickly traversed by pyroclastic flows, which are rapid currents of hot, dry rock fragments and gases that bury and destroy everything in their path. Scientists are keeping a close eye on every cough or hiccup at the dormant Yellowstone in order to predict the next eruption. Yellowstone's brewing energy has lain dormant for countless years, but that doesn't mean it won't awaken at some point in the future. The question is with what ferocity. A global catastrophe would result from an eruption. The supervolcano has the ability to erupt lava flows that would cover whole states, as well as a cloud of ash and dust that would obscure the sun and temper the planet's climate. For the time being, park officials advise visitors to be cautious and aware of the potential danger. Will the Yellowstone supervolcano erupt in the near future? Tell us in the comments.